that has led to our wrestlers in tears. Among my guests who will join me is Vijinder Singh. He will tell us why he's angry. Also, we will continue our debates on the new criminal law brought into Parliament. Abhishek Manu Singhvi and Pinky Anand are among my guests tonight. And we have a special for you. Manipur MLA Vunzagin Walte will be joining me on a pre-Xmas special with a man who symbolizes Manipur's continuing tragedy. Plenty on the show tonight, but first, as always, it's time for the 9 headlines at 9. 3 soldiers are killed in action in Jammu and Kashmir's Rajouri anti-terror operation on after 2 army convoys are ambushed. 3rd major ambush in Rajouri in this last 1 year alone. Brijbhushan Saran Singh's close aide Sanjay Singh gets elected to the wrestling body's top post, sparking off protests from the women wrestlers. Sakshi Malik says she's hanging up her boots, quits wrestling. 3 more opposition MPs suspended. Total suspensions at 146 as Parliament is adjourned. Sine die. India bloc protest claims this has been a murder of democracy. The contentious CEC bill passed in the Lok Sabha in the absence of suspended opposition MPs. Government gets the final say to appoint a chief poll officer with a panel of the Prime Minister, Union Minister and Leader of the Opposition. 3 new criminal reforms to replace colonial era laws also passed in the Lok Sabha in the absence of 46 suspended opposition MPs. Rajya Sabha adjourned sine die. Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal skips a second ED summons in the Delhi Liquor Gate probe, calls the summons illegal and politically motivated. Another big setback for the DMK. Stalin Minister K. Ponmudi sentenced to 3 years jail term in an illegal assets case. BJP hits out, says DMK steeped in corruption. 87 Kuki Zoo victims buried in Manipur's Churachandpur district amidst tight security. Thousands pay tribute to Manipur's ethnic violence victims. Left government versus Governor Arif Khan in Kerala escalates. Khan claimed Chief Minister hired goons to attack his convoy. Chief Minister accuses Governor and Congress of trying to disrupt peace. But the news that's breaking at the very top is disturbing. 3 soldiers have been killed in action in Jammu and Kashmir's Rajouri. 2 army vehicles have been ambushed and at least 3 soldiers killed. 3 have been injured. The incident taking place at 3:45 p.m. This afternoon. 2 army vehicles were carrying troops. They were moving to the operational site when they were fired upon by terrorists. The fire was retaliated upon in the ongoing operation. 3 of the soldiers sustained fatal injuries, 3 non-fatal casualties. The operation is still in progress. Importantly, this is the 3rd ambush in Rajouri area in this year alone. Sunil G. Bhatt joins me for the very latest. Sunil, give us the latest update on what's been happening.
Well, Rajdeep, terrible news coming in from the border district of Rajouri. The security forces had a specific input that there was presence of terrorists in Dera Ki Gali area in Thana Mandi Tehsil of Rajouri district, and based on that specific input, a massive search and cordon operation was launched by the security forces late last night. This evening, the security forces managed to establish contact with the terrorists and reinforcements were being sent to the operation site. Unfortunately, 2 of those vehicles which were carrying our soldiers, these 2 vehicles were targeted by the terrorists. They fired upon these 2 vehicles. Unfortunately, we have lost 3 of our brave hearts in this anti-terror operation. 3 soldiers are injured. They have been rushed to the hospital for the treatment. But Rajdeep, last time also when we spoke, I told you that there has been a change in strategy as far as Pakistan is concerned and terrorists are concerned. They are now focusing on the hilly regions of Jammu region. There was a time when these twin border districts of Rajouri and Poonch were severely affected by terrorism, but because of the hard efforts of security forces, these areas became terror free. But once again, terror is raising its ugly head in these areas. And why is Pakistan focusing on these areas? Is the reason behind is that this is a densely forested area. It's surrounded by tall mountains, and it's a
Right.
very challenging area for the security forces. It becomes very challenging for security forces to carry out anti-terror operation. And as per the security establishment, there are 15 to 20 terrorists present in the twin border districts of Rajouri and Poonch. They are hiding in the upper reaches, and that is why anti-terror operations have been going on in these two districts for last 2 years. Rajdeep.
Okay. Sunil Bhattji with lots of details there, worrying there how Rajouri has become a new epicenter for terrorism in Kashmir. Let's turn from there to our top story tonight. Brij Bhushan Saran Singh, the MP of the BJP from Gonda, and a man who has been in the eye of the scanner since the start of the year after women wrestlers, including Olympic winning wrestlers, claimed that he was responsible for sexually harassing them. Well, today there was another twist in the tale because a close aide of Brij Bhushan Saran Singh has won the Wrestling Federation elections. Soon after, wrestler Sakshi Malik hung up her boots, announcing a dramatic retirement tearfully from wrestling. As I said, Brij Bhushan is the man accused of sexual harassment by multiple female wrestlers. Take a look at our top story.
Months of agitation against ex-WFI chief Brij Bhushan Saran Singh, and it all came down to tears for the protesting wrestlers. One of Brij Bhushan's own men, Sanjay Kumar Singh, emerged victorious on result day, sparking celebrations in the Brij Bhushan camp.
ये फेडरेशन अपने लिए नहीं चुनी जाती है, देश के खेल को बढ़ाने के लिए चुनी जाती है। और मैं ये उम्मीद करता हूं कि 11 महीने के अंदर जो कुश्ती का नुकसान हुआ है, खेल की गतिविधि बंद है, नई फेडरेशन तुरंत इस गतिविधि कुश्ती की गतिविधि को शुरू करे और जो नुकसान हुआ है उसका भरपाई करे। और ये मेरी जीत नहीं है, देश के पहलवानों की जीत है।
A huge setback for the wrestlers who made allegations of corruption and sexual assault against Brij Bhushan Saran Singh and had vehemently opposed to Singh's candidature for the president's post, given his close ties with the ex-chief.
अगर प्रेसिडेंट ब्रिज भूषण जैसे आदमी जैसा ही रहता है, उसका बिल्कुल सहयोगी है, उसका बिजनेस पार्टनर है, वो अगर इस फेडरेशन में रहेगा तो मैं अपनी कुश्ती को त्यागती हूँ और मैं आज के बाद कभी भी आपको वहाँ नहीं दिखूंगा।
क्या लेना देना भाई, अपने छोड़ने की बात कर।
While there are celebrations in one camp, the other feels hard done by. The wrestlers sought justice and they feel that it's been denied. Sports Bureau, India Today.
Let me go to my first guest tonight, and he is also an Olympic bronze medal winner, Vijinder Singh, boxer, who also contested as a member of parliament, joins me now. Vijinder di, आपने देखा होगा आज साक्षी मलिक रो पड़ी. The wrestler has cried और कहा कि अब वो रेसलिंग नहीं करेगी. जिस तरह से ये रेसलिंग फेडरेशन के चुनाव हुए और ब्रिज भूषण सरन सिंह का खास आदमी जीता है, संजय सिंह, क्या लगता है जो तस्वीर आपने देखी साक्षी रोते हुए? As an athlete, how do you respond?
जी एज ए प्लेयर होने के नाते सर बहुत बुरा लगता है, बिकॉज काफी संघर्ष के बाद उस मुकाम तक पहुंचा जाता है, जैसे कि ओलंपिक मेडलिस्ट, कॉमनवेल्थ गेम्स में मेडलिस्ट, एशियन गेम्स मेडलिस्ट, जितने भी टूर्नामेंट थे वो सब खेल चुके, सबके सब जीत चुके हैं। उसमें साक्षी भी है, विनेश भी है, बजरंग भी है। और जब साक्षी ने कहा कि वो ओलंपिक या कुश्ती को छोड़ देगी, जिस तरह से चुनाव प्रक्रिया हुई है, तो आई थिंक ये बहुत गंभीर मसला है और आई थिंक ये कहीं ना कहीं सवाल उठाता है हमारी जो लोकतांत्रिक जो सरकारें चलती हैं, जैसे न्याय प्रक्रिया है, उसके ऊपर बहुत सारे सवाल उठाता है कि ये कैसे हो गया सब चीजें। तो लेकिन एक खिलाड़ी होने के नाते हम कर भी क्या सकते हैं, व्हाट वी कैन डू सर, ये बिकॉज ये सब वोट का काम है और वोट के थ्रू सब चीज चलती हैं।
नहीं, यही तो मुसीबत है। चुनाव हुए, अब ब्रिजभूषण शरण सिंह और उसके खास आदमी चुनाव जीत गए हैं। एथलीट्स विल हैव टू एक्सेप्ट इट। क्या आपको लगता है कि हमारे फेडरेशंस इसी तरह से चलते हैं कि जिसके हाथ में सत्ता है, ताकत है, दोज नेताज विन, और स्पोर्ट्स पर्सन की कोई सुनवाई तो नहीं होनी है डिस्पाइट ऑल दीज प्रोटेस्ट एंड एलिगेशंस ऑफ सेक्सुअल हैरेसमेंट?
नहीं सर, बॉक्सिंग का भी देख लीजिए। बॉक्सिंग का भी जो चलाते हैं स्पाइस जेट के ओनर है जय सिंह जी, वो भी आपको मालूम है सर। जो टेबल टेनिस है वो भी कौन चलाता है। क्रिकेट का तो आप सबको मालूम ही है सर। और लेकिन सर, मैं नहीं मानता कि सब लोग बुरा चलाते हैं, कई लोग अच्छा भी चलाते हैं। लेकिन जब तक वो खिलाड़ियों की उनके परेशान नहीं करते तब तक सब चीजें ठीक है। हमें कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, किसी से कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, हमें कोई किसी से बैर नहीं है। लेकिन सर दिक्कत तब आती है जब वो एक कहते कि डिक्टेटर की तरह बिहेव करते हैं। बिकॉज दे शोइंग देयर मनी पावर, दे शोइंग देयर कि भैया पॉलिटिक्स की पावर, कि भैया मेरे से ऊपर कोई नहीं है, मैं हूँ। बिकॉज हमने हमारी टाइम भी सर बहुत सारे जो बॉक्सिंग जब थे हमारे, तो प्रेसिडेंट वो भी पॉलिटिशियन होते थे, बट उन्होंने कभी परेशान नहीं किया कि हम तुम ये करो तुम ऐसे करो। उन्होंने कभी सेक्सुअल हरासमेंट या कुछ किस तरह के भी आपके भी सुनने को नहीं दिया। और फिर एक सवाल सर मैं आपसे पूछता हूँ सर, आपने तो बहुत अच्छी तरह से कवर किया है जब कांग्रेस की सरकार थी, और तब इस तरह का कोई एलिगेशन किसी फेडरेशन पर लगता तो सरकार कैसे काम करती? बिकॉज आपको मैंने बहुत करीब से देखा, तो आप बताइए सर, इस सवाल
नहीं
का
आप
जरूर जवाब दीजिए।
नहीं नहीं विजेंद्र जी आप कह रहे हैं मोदी सरकार वर्सेस कांग्रेस सरकार, लेकिन आपकी बात सुनकर कोई कहेगा विजेंद्र तो कांग्रेस पार्टी से चुनाव लड़ा था इन 2019, यू कॉन्टेस्टेड फ्रॉम दिल्ली। अब ये कहा जा रहा है साक्षी मलिक को अब कांग्रेस लड़ा सकती है हरियाणा से। तो एक तरह से ये जो लड़ाई है हैज बिकम बीजेपी बनाम कांग्रेस, मोदी सरकार वर्सेस कांग्रेस, रादर देन एथलीट्स वर्सेस ब्रिजभूषण सिंह। क्या ये प्रोटेस्ट जो है अब पूरी तरह से राजनीतिक बन गया है और भी बनेगा?
सर ये हर एक सिक्के के दो पहलू होते हैं, और राजनीति आपको ही मालूम है सर हर जगह पे है। कौन कहता कि कहाँ नहीं है सर, ये बताइए मेरे को पहले तो। और नंबर वन, वो कहते कि टिकट लेगी नहीं लेगी, फ्यूचर का किसको मालूम सर, क्या हुआ क्या पता बीजेपी चुनाव लड़ ले फिर क्या हुआ सर। तो उसकी भी तो गारंटी दो ना। अभी भाई कल मेरे को कहते भी मैं कांग्रेस से हूँ, कल मैं किसी दूसरी पार्टी से चुनाव लड़ दूं, तब उसका क्या होगा कि फिर दूसरी पार्टी देगी। सर ये चेंज कर रहे हैं सर। जो असली मसला है, खिलाड़ियों का मसला है, उनको परेशान करने का मसला है, उनके साथ सेक्सुअल हरासमेंट का मसला है, उससे ध्यान भटका के आपको कांग्रेस वर्सेज उसमें कर देते सर बीजेपी में। वो लग गए, उसके बाद वो सब चीजें चलती रहती हैं। वो कहिए भैया तुमने ऐसे किया था, तुमने वैसे किया था। लेकिन जो जो खिलाड़ियों का मसला है वो वैसा का वैसा ही है। उनके साथ सेक्सुअल हरासमेंट हुआ था नहीं हुआ था, वो सब चीजें कोर्ट में है। लेकिन उसके बाद भी सब चुनाव हुए और दोबारा से फिर जीत जाता है। तो बेचारी तंग होके उसने अपना कहते कि भैया मैंने छोड़ ही दिया, अभी जो तुम्हें करना है तुम करो। तो अभी वो बेचारी कहाँ जाएगी सर?
नहीं कहाँ जाएगी, आपकी बात बिल्कुल सही है। गुस्सा आता है और वो इमेजेस देखकर मुझे भी गुस्सा आता है कि एक ओलंपिक रेसलर की बात एक तरह से सुनी नहीं जाती है, लेकिन बाकी खिलाड़ी कहाँ हैं? आपने अपनी बात रखी, वेयर आर ऑल आर अदर फेमस स्पोर्ट्स पर्सन? उनका साथ बहुत कम लोग दे रहे हैं। क्या सरकार का डर है इसलिए लोग बोल नहीं रहे हमारे विमेन रेसलर्स के साथ?
नहीं 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 सर, डर नहीं है, डर नहीं है सर। बेचारी सरकारी नौकरी में है ना। हरियाणा में आधे ज्यादा जितने प्लेयर हैं, जितने बड़े बड़े स्पोर्ट्स पर्सन, सब गवर्नमेंट जॉब में है। और गवर्नमेंट जॉब में सर कोई एक आवाज उठा देता ना। मेरे भी कहते इशू को नोटिस हुआ था, इसलिए मैं नौकरी छोड़ दी सर। अब मैं जो चाहे आपसे बात कर सकता हूँ, कभी भी कर सकता हूँ, जो मेरे को अच्छा लगता है मैं बात कर, जो बुरा लगता है नहीं। तो आधे से ज्यादा प्लेयर सरकारी नौकरी में है सर। और सबके सब जो खिलाड़ी होने के नाते कहते हैं कि जो अच्छा खिलाड़ी है उसको सब मालूम है कि इतना बड़ा लेवल, ओलंपिक लेवल सर, बहुत हार्डली कहते हैं नंबर्स के मेडल है हमारे हिंदुस्तान के पास। और उस तरह के साथ वो कहता है कि भाई मेरे को न्याय नहीं मिला इसलिए मैं कुश्ती छोड़ रहा हूँ, तो एक बहुत बड़ी बात है। और दूसरे खिलाड़ी सब के सब कहते हैं सर, ऑफ द रिकॉर्ड आप उनसे बात कीजिए तो आपको बता देंगे कि वो बेचारे कितने परेशान है।
ब्रिजभूषण सिंह जी, विजेंद्र एक आखिरी बात, ब्रिजभूषण शरण सिंह के आदमी जैसे मैंने कहा चुनाव जीत गए हैं, क्या ये लड़ाई अब खत्म? क्या आपको लगता है कि अभी भी इनको न्याय मिलेगा, इन रेसलर्स को न्याय मिलेगा, ये लड़ाई जारी रहेगी?
सर न्याय मिलना चाहिए। लड़ाई तो कहते हो तो मेरा काम है सर, वो पंच मारना और कहते कि वो सब चीजें करना। तो लेकिन लड़ाई कहते बेचारी इनकी पहले भी किसी से नहीं थी ना। ये कहते जब पहले दिन से बैठे तब भी ये लोग बोल रहे थे कि भैया हमें सिर्फ हमारी ये लड़ाई की हमारी सुनी जाए, हमारे साथ जो सेक्सुअल हरासमेंट हुआ है, दूसरी चीजें हुई हैं, उसका हमें न्याय मिले। दैट्स इट। हमारी लड़ाई इन्होंने पहले भी कहा थी, कोई राजनीति से प्रेरित नहीं है, कोई राजनीति इसमें इन्वॉल्व नहीं है। लेकिन सब चीजों धीरे धीरे वो सब लोगों ने कर दिया, उसमें अंदर डाल जानबूझ के उसको तोड़ने के लिए, और फाइनली कहते हैं कि सब चीजें यहाँ आ गई। तो आई थिंक सर हम इनके साथ हैं और आगे भी रहेंगे।
विजेंदर सिंह, आपने हमसे बात की, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया। थैंक यू वेरी मच। आई जस्ट वांट टू टेल आवर व्यूअर्स एज वी प्ले दोस इमेजेस वंस अगेन ऑफ साक्षी मलिक crying. Just think about it. This is an athlete who's given her life to play for the country. Is this what we want to see from our athletes? And I want to ask this question. Where is the Jat Mahasabha now, which goes to the streets when they claim that the vice president has been mocked? Will they hit the streets when a woman who's done the country proud breaks into tears in this manner? And what happens to the cases against Brij Bhushan Saran Singh? What's their status? Are these questions not to be asked? Think about it. Let's turn from there to our next top story, and it comes from the flashes on your screen at the moment, because Parliament has now finally passed, both houses have passed the 3 new criminal law bills which will replace the existing penal code of the country. A debate took place in the Rajya Sabha, again in the absence of suspended opposition MPs, and at the end the Bharatiya Nyay Sanhita, Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita and Bharatiya Saksha Adhyanam have been passed. Listen in first to Home Minister Amit Shah.
18 राज्य, 6 संघ राज्य, सुप्रीम कोर्ट, 16 हाई कोर्ट, 5 न्यायिक एकेडमीज, 22 विश्वविद्यालय, 42 संसद और 135 आईपीएस अफसरों के लगभग 4200 सुझावों को एनालिसिस कर एक कानून बनाया गया है। मैं नहीं मानता कोई कानून इतनी विस्तृत कंसल्टेशन की प्रक्रिया से। मान्यवर, इसके बाद ये जब कानून बना तब मैंने खुद 158 बैठकों के अंदर बारीकी से पुराने कानून और नए कानून दोनों को पढ़ा है। मान्यवर, इसके बाद हमने गृह विभाग की स्टैंडिंग कमेटी को सौंपा। इसी सदन से सम्मानीय सदस्य हमारे पूर्व डीजी साहब है, उन्होंने बहुत अच्छा काम किया। सभी सदस्यों ने जो विचार दिए, जो सुझाव दिए थे, मैं आज सदन को बताना चाहता हूं, इसके 72% सुझावों को हमने स्वीकार कर लिया है। जो नॉन पॉलिटिकल थे और सुझाव स्वीकार नहीं होते थे।
Okay, so let's focus on these laws. We believe it is the bigger story of our times, not what happens to the mimicry is unfortunate, but this is the real story of our time, because this will affect millions of Indians in the years ahead. New criminal laws. Now, while there are good points in the laws, there are some concerns as well. One particular aspect is what impact will it have on civil liberties, because the police now have the power to seek 15 days custody at any time during a 60 to 90 day period before a charge sheet is filed. Current law allowed only 15 days custody during the first 15 days after arrest. So you are expanding police powers. Many therefore believe there is a possibility of greater abuse, because provisions related to offences of terrorism, organized crime, endangering the sovereignty, unity and integrity of India could be misused. By adding organized crime, terrorist offences, corruption under the new bill, and not removing the laws that already exist for these offences like UAPA, Prevention of Corruption Act, will it lead to a greater overlap? And experts say that, are you really tinkering with long-standing established laws to only lead to an explosion of litigation? Is this only a cosmetic change, a name change? Today I'm going to hear 2 voices. The first one is Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi. He is the senior Congress MP and one of the country's leading lawyers. He joins me. Appreciate your joining us, Dr. Singhvi. In passing these 3 important legislations, Dr. Singhvi, new criminal laws, the Home Minister says he's ending a colonial legacy, that the Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita has Indianized a colonial legacy of criminal laws. Do you accept that this was a much needed reform in our criminal justice system?
Rajdeep, what has been done, far from being much needed, is not required at all and is retrograde. What a law does is what matters, not rhetoric about colonial laws. A colonial law may be good and your modern law may be bad. And if the reverse is true, then the former must be amended and substituted by good law, not because it is colonial, but because you're bringing something good. This is a classic case of cosmeticism at its worst. Khoda pahad, chuya bhi nahi nikli. And I will demonstrate to you immediately why. What was required, first of all, very, very cosmetic, much more so than you think. What was required by way of structural, of course, laws require reform, they require autonomy, not done at all. What is done in many, many ways, of course, I can't cover all the examples, is retrograde, and it is really but a ego-based namkaran naming exercise.
No, no,
you must leave your imprint on everything. You must leave your identity on everything.
Dr. Dr. Singhvi, sorry to intervene. The fact is, you're using words like retrograde, you're saying it's cosmetic, it's ego-driven. But let's turn to specifics. Forget the rhetoric. We want to focus on the law itself. Now, for a long time, Dr. Singhvi, you know that those in the criminal justice system, whether police officers, judges, lawyers, all of them have been calling for reforms. The government says this is part of the reforms, and they claim that police powers are actually being controlled, will not be arbitrary, and the laws itself are more citizen-centric. Can you tell me, when you say retrograde, be more specific?
So, Rajdeep, the devil and God both lie in the details. Let's take them one by one. Let me give you straight away 3 or 4 genuinely needed structural reforms not done. And let me then give you 4 or 5 done which are retrograde. Now, you mentioned just now police reforms. That's one of the... So this is actually a lost opportunity because of rhetoric and namkaran and, ego. Police reforms have been talked about in innumerable law commission reports by 3 Supreme Court judgments called Prakash Singh, etc. The simple point there is separate genuinely by Chinese walls. Chinese not fashionable now, so Indian walls. The prosecution part and the investigation part. Have you done it? You lost the opportunity to do it. I would have welcomed it. You have the fantastic example, of course, an extreme example of the district attorney in the US. You have the director of public prosecutions in England. We have those posts intra-department, but they are meaningless because there is no genuine separation. And that, what suffers is objectivity, transparency, and impartiality. Just take an ordinary IO. You are a journalist of very senior repute, Rajdeep. You know what a poor IO does? He gets up in the morning,
Information
he goes
officer.
into the field and collects evidence. Obviously, he gets attached to the limited evidence he collects. By 12 o'clock, he lands up in some court to do evidence, comes home in the afternoon, comes to the office in the afternoon, sits in his own department with some seniors to decide whether the evidence he has collected should be prosecutable or not, and then files a report in the court. Now, this is completely apart from, of course, this is apart from doing his boss's bidding and, doing menial tasks. Now, this is completely the antithesis of a good police department. They should have, as a first reform, not done, missed opportunity, made these walls between the decision, between the collection of evidence and the decision to prosecute. Then, of course, the second one is to make it much more reformative, not punitive. Increase the number of compoundable offenses. There are innumerable number of petty offenses which are not compoundable. Impersonating a public servant, some petty organized crime. I'm giving only examples because I don't have time to go into the details. But that is a reform I would have welcomed. Punishment alignment. You'll be surprised how many offenses are serious, but the punishment is minor. And vice versa. Align those things. For bribery for elections, how much is the punishment? 1 year. And because you have an agenda in the love jihad, you've made a new offense, which I'll come to on the retrograde category, of 10 years. Riots provocation is 6 months. Do these alignments. Of course, this part I must end by telling you one good thing they've done on this. And the good thing is that they've brought in community service as a punishment. I welcome that. I only say there that that list where you can award community punishment instead of incarceration should be increased to many, many, many more offenses. But of course, should be excluded for second, third time repeat offenders. Both these last 2 things have not been done.
You're using the word retrograde again and again, and you used it interestingly just now in the context of love jihad, which you say could result in 10 years. They don't explicitly use the word love jihad in these new laws, but could result in 10 years of imprisonment. Could you give me an example, similar examples of why you believe these are retrograde? What is it about the way they've been formulated that you believe makes them retrograde?
4 examples, and I'll be very brief because our time is limited. And these are 4 out of many, many more. 1, there is a section 69 added, or a clause 69 still be passed. Sexual intercourse by deceitful means. Humongous, disproportionate 10-year punishment. Astonishingly, the parliamentary committee which reported on it has put it under the head appreciated provisions leading to involving love jihad. So clearly, this is a disproportionate new offense intended for a particular agenda of the government. If you must have it, you already have rape by deceitful means. You don't have to have a separate offense with a 10-year punishment. And you know the laxity of prosecution, how you can be selective, how I can punish you and let off somebody else. Two major problems. And I've, for the life of me, not found the method in the madness, Rajdeep. Anti-terror. You know there's a UAPA, that is an older special law. It is directed and focused against terrorism. It has the 3 principles on anti-terror law, which are harsh, but which are used for anti-terror: reverse presumption of innocence, bail more stringent, and statements admissible. Now in this, you have created a separate anti-terror part of this law. The funny part is that you have let it be decided by an SP as to whether you should apply the UAPA or this law. So the SP can pick and choose. The powers under UAPA are more draconian, more harsh in favor of the prosecution. You have now a parallel system, and a SP chooses, and worse, that SP chooses without any statutory criteria specified. I can't understand the meaning. Either you make some amendments to the UAPA which exists, or scrap UAPA, it's even better, and make it more humane, as partly you've done in this one. But having both, some hidden agenda, I can't find a reason. Exactly the same thing has happened, with a slight difference, in anti-organized crime. You know that all these states have these laws, Kakoka, Makoka in Maharashtra, Haryana, Punjab, Rajasthan, my state, all of them have these state laws. They have similar stringent provision of reverse presumption of proof, bail, and anti-bail, more stringent on bail and admissibility of statements. Now you've gone and created again a similar code of the mega all India IPC, now known as BNS, for an anti-organized crime law. Now again, there is no method in the madness. First, unlike the anti-terror provision, there is no provision telling you whether the prosecutor will choose the state law or this law. He would normally prefer the state law, which is more stringent. It will allow selectivity. It will not tell you whether Rajdeep should prosecute me for which reason under X and prosecute somebody else under the other law Y. There is no criteria specified, which is given in the anti-terror part of the BNS. And the worst, Rajdeep, I say it in a lighter vein, the government is of course not guilty of sedition. It cannot be. But it is guilty of betrayal. On 11th May 22, as far back as 1 year ago, the Supreme Court put a stay. On 24th of October 31st of October 22, they reiterated and recorded the statement of no less than the Attorney General saying we are seriously reconsidering. Suddenly, 1 year later, on 24th of May 2023, the Law Commission comes up with a direct recommendation for sedition, and the government interestingly distances itself, says we don't know, this is a Law Commission, it's an independent body. That of course was meant for those who eat grass. But then now, in this law, it is nothing but the same sedition law. Mr. Honorable Home Minister is wrong when he dresses it up as Deshdroh and not Rajdroh. That one, the earlier one, had life for 3 years. This has life for 7 years. It's the same law reincarnated. And more than that, after Supreme Court assurances, what is the weight of your assurance to Supreme Court in future if you act like this? And one last thing on this, you know the actual practice on the ground. You are arrested in Gujarat by Assam police on sedition charges. You're a journalist in UP and you are booked up in sedition charges. And everybody give you a lecture and a sermon. Oh, if you have a good case, the law will take its own course. You will win. Not telling you that the process is the punishment. It's good enough to stay in jail for 3 to 6 months, and then of course you'll get some relief sometime.
Dr. Singhvi, I respect your legal acumen, which is why I allowed you to look specifically at this. But, you said, you started this by saying that this is a missed opportunity for the government. But the fact is, it's a missed opportunity for you as well. You could have debated this in Parliament. Instead, you're part of the group now, which of MPs which are suspended. The disruption of Parliament has meant that the country has been denied a wider debate. You were to lead that debate.
Rajdeep, personally, I am anguished because on a lighter vein, I am the only male who has been aborted twice. I was the lead speaker last session on the Election Commission bills, aborted. And this session on these three, I was opening the debate today, aborted. But ask the question, for what is this happening? For a simple statement by the Home Minister of the country or the Prime Minister of the country about a parliamentary breach. So who is showing ego? Who has a preconceived agenda that, look, A, we will function from the mountaintops with ego and not budge an inch. We will not give a statement, though we'll speak about it outside. B, the moment you protest about why you are not speaking, we will go to the extreme step of suspending you. C, have placards never come in Parliament before? But have you had 141 suspensions ever before, except one incident of 69 people for a totally different reason? 4, you are happy to go along each day and decide this in an empty Parliament. Might as well not have Parliament in this debate. So you have to decide who's to blame. We are not doing it joyfully. I am fully prepared to argue this today. I was going to be the lead speaker at 2 o'clock. Do you think I'm very happy at missing it? But if you do Tanashahi, dictatorship of this kind, and you expect us to come into the House and say, okay, he will not make a statement, but the House should not listen. What have you not listened to us? The smallest possible request, which should be given for the asking in the last 75 years of parliamentary history, minus 40, minus 10.
And to get another side to this continuing debate on these 3 new criminal law provisions, I'm joined by Pinky Anand, former ASG and someone who's worked with the Modi government. Appreciate your joining us, Pinky Anand. The basic charge against these 3 bills is that while it changes the name of the Indian Penal Code and Criminal Procedure Code, the name change suggests that you're dramatically changing the laws. In effect, actually, you've only tinkered with it. Most of the law is cut and paste, and worse still, it gives even more draconian powers to the police and the state, especially when it comes on issues like sedition and terrorism. Your take?
Well, whenever you amend a law, whenever you bring about a new law, whenever you change the law, some allegation or the other is always made of the kind that you've just espoused. So basically, it's difficult to say this. The point really of bringing a new law is that if you amend the law, it tends to have various possible contradictions, some ethos that you don't want to repeat. You want to translate the whole into an anti-colonial, not anti-colonial, but something which has lesser colonial reference, or removing that element from our textbooks so that we have our own laws. So the concept of amendment, as I said, is one concept, and the amendment of bringing in a new law, because all said and done, there have been dramatic changes. So the dramatic changes, for example, let's take forensics. Let's take IT evidence. Let's take investigation with that. And I'm not sure about this draconian part. In any case, this is always the position in criminal law, that you do need to give police powers. It's not as if you can't. Either you remove that, but that element is not possible to be removed. And what you are doing, for example, is safeguarding. So let's say electronic evidence. When you're permitting a device to take in electronic evidence, or you're allowing forensics, which incidentally we need desperately by now. Times have changed. We no longer have to really go around the whole way without dealing with forensics, and we have constantly been arguing for forensics into the system. So you are bringing in those elements, and possibly another way was, as you say, to do something else with amendment of the law. But amendment of laws also has its own constraints and limitations, which the new bills have sought to bypass, as well as change the complexion by making it something which goes away from the colonial history, and therefore the renaming of the acts, which is brought into focus. In fact, I find some of the changes are substantively extremely desirable.
Give me one example. Give me one example, Pinky Anand. Give me one example of a change that you find desirable.
As I said just now, forensics, investigation by electronic evidence, outright giving of bail, changing the complexion of terrorism, to make it not anti-government but anti-country, which I'm sure there could be literally no opposition to. So there's no removing sedition as such from the textbook. I mean, in any
No,
case,
it hasn't removed sedition. You see, this is the ingenuity of these laws. You haven't removed sedition. You've actually brought in sedition plus. Many would say actually in the new definition, the government will have even more sweeping powers to arrest someone under sedition with much more severe penalties. Similarly, when it comes to police custody limits on bail, expanded police custody for a duration within 60 to 90 days post-arrest and limited relief in bail procedure. So how is this going to be?
No, I don't know what you mean by limited procedure. For example, let me just share with you, Rajdeep, when you talk about, for example, releasing a person who spent half his term of the offense in jail should be released on bail. That is a straightaway release that you have. You've had time limits put down on the various trial procedures. The idea has been to give speedier justice so that you can see the end of a trial rather than the prolonged trials that actually carry on. I mean, you can always find fault, as I said, on the part of the police having powers in cases of sedition, which is against the country, in cases of terrorism, which is against the country, by in fact making it stricter to the extent, or limited, not stricter, but limited in application in its own way and not extending across service. You say that's become draconian. I mean, this argument doesn't seem to be that palatable at all.
No, but you don't think that these laws will eventually enhance discretionary powers of police? What we actually needed was police reform. Instead, the government has gone in for legal reform. That too, as I said, according to legal scholars, cosmetic, because 90 to 95% is very similar to the old law. You give it a new Indian name, doesn't make it a new law. But the point is, instead of withdrawing the discretionary powers of police and reforming the police, this could be misused by the police.
Rajdeep, I'm sorry. I mean, much as we all talk about police reforms and limiting the powers of the police, I'm afraid how do you really achieve that excepting for safeguarding? So that's why I say forensic electronic evidence, that by itself limits to the extent that you have it supported by evidence, which is what you drastically need today. We've been living on a period of circumstantial evidence, about direct evidence. You have forensics, which will, when it is there, prove it conclusively. So, this whole hogwash about saying don't give police powers, police will have powers. That is the agency. Police reforms, yes, police reforms are required, but while they are pending, you can't say that the law doesn't require. So, these negative kind of arguments to say, no, do that first, then do this. This is not the manner in which things are done. However, what we did need into place is the acceptance of electronic evidence, forensics. These actually expedite procedures into a much speedier system that we are talking about today.
So when, for example, critics are suggesting that it will give arbitrary power to label even non-violent democratic action as terrorism, you already have UAPA. Now clause 111.1 of the BNS IPC widens the definition, many believe, of terrorism, and it could include even a non-violent act or a mere expression of speech or writing. So these concerns, are they valid, particularly being expressed by human rights activists?
I'm afraid that there is a wide schism between human rights activists and terrorism. I mean, terrorism cannot be condoned at any cost, in whichever manner it comes across, and that's my clear view. I don't even think that this constant criticism or critique of terrorism is an activity which I don't think deserves much defense, much as human rights activists may want to do so. So I have my fundamentals rather clear on that point.
What about the erosion of privacy rights with increased authority to seize digital devices as evidence? You mentioned that you believe that it is important to have forensics as evidence. There are those who believe that this could be a violation of privacy rights if my mobile phone, for example, is seized and used as evidence.
Rajdeep, again, I think we have to understand the fundamentals of fundamental rights. When you are having two possibly conflicting fundamental rights, there has to be a balance between the two. And the balance doesn't mean that privacy wins on all counts. If it is a question of an offense, if it's a question of a criminal action, there is no question of the privacy being intruded. That it doesn't work in that fashion. Privacy has to give way to concerns of a higher order. For example, security, health, like COVID, for example, it was said that you couldn't have an app which went into whether you had COVID or not, but you could and you should. You cannot bypass these procedures for the sake of this count of privacy. If somebody is going to commit an offense and the mobile phone actually has evidence of that, and that is seized, where's the question of privacy? Privacy doesn't come into play on such counts, I'm afraid.
Okay. Pinky Anand giving us the other perspective, and we will continue these debates because we believe that these are the real issues of our times that need to be debated. On News Today, we will continue to hold those in power accountable. On that note, let's take a break. When we return, a very special interview. It's just a few days away to Christmas. I'll be joined by Manipur's BJP MLA, Vunzagin Walte. Remember him? He was thrashed and left to die in Imphal. I had done his story 5 months ago. I'll go and meet him again.
Is it possible
You've got to
for
see it.
Metes and cookies
Back in a
to come
moment.
together?
At least one day it will come together. Sardesai,
Yes.
hey, you have promised you have to come to me. Thank you, you are the next of God. You are next of God.
How are you going to celebrate Christmas?
Yeah, I am planning to do here in Manipur.
India, as you know, is a land of diversity where countless stories are born every day. A brand that has celebrated the rich mosaic of our country, India Today, is the brand that has been covering stories from all spheres of life from across the country tirelessly, making sense of the myriad India and the Indians residing in here. The story of India Today and the story of my latest film, Donkey, which is inspired by the phenomenal dreams and struggles of the same Indians and is a story about love and friendship filled with humor and heart.
हमने मजबूरी में अपना घर छोड़ा था, वरना कोई अपना देश, अपना परिवार, अपने दोस्तों को छोड़कर क्यों जाएगा सरहदों पे गोली खाने?
While my film Donkey symbolizes the struggle of many who leave home and their loved ones behind in the hope for a better life, they miss their homeland in this tough bargain. But it's their spirit that helps them carry on. India Today has been capturing the indomitable spirit of being an Indian for over 5 decades now. India Today, making sense to India, making sense of India.
Manipur. Remember Manipur? For many, it's been the story of 2023, and it's a story that's not over. Yesterday, 87 victims of the devastating ethnic clashes that had erupted in May this year in Manipur were laid to rest in a mass burial on Wednesday in Kuki-dominated Churachandpur. The 87 dead bodies belonging to the Kuki-Zo community were buried near Khugadam after being kept in morgues for 8 months. The Supreme Court had pushed for the mass burials to take place. The burial site will be named Kuki Hamar Mizo Zomi Martyr Cemetery, and those burials in a sense reflect the growing divide that continues even till this day between Kuki and Meitei dominated areas. And it is in that context that with Christmas coming up in just a couple of days, I went and met someone to spend a few hours and find out just how he was. Who's that person? Take a look. Hello and welcome to this India Today special. Some 5 months ago, even as the ethnic violence in Manipur was simmering, I came across the story of Vunzagin Walte, a 3-time BJP MLA from Manipur who was tragically beaten up and left to die on the streets of Imphal. A close aide of the Chief Minister, Walte's story in a way became symbolic of the tragedy of Manipur, in which more than 150 people have died and several thousands have been displaced. Now, 5 months later, I've come back to meet Vunzagin Walte and his family as they are coming together to celebrate Christmas, hopefully in happier times. Thank you very much, Vungazin Walte, for meeting me once again. And your son, younger son, David. I remember when I came and met you 5 months ago, more than 5 months ago, you couldn't speak. You had been badly beaten up. Are you feeling better now? Is the smile slowly coming back?
Better for me.
You're feeling better. And you're on the road to recovery.
Yeah.
And you want to celebrate Christmas with a smile.
Yeah. This time my doctor advised me to bring my family members from from Manipur to Delhi. That's why my younger brother, younger sons and my sister.
So all your entire family is coming together to celebrate Christmas with you.
Yeah.
We've got a little Christmas tree here, and we're going to celebrate Christmas in a moment with the Waltes, but you haven't been able to meet your constituents back home. You haven't been able to go back to Manipur because of your condition. Are you still hopeful that soon you will go back in the new year to meet your constituents?
I hope I can meet my people in the recent past. Recently, I'll meet them and I'll tell them what happened to me.
Okay, so you want to meet your constituents and tell them your story of what happened to you. Is it something that you will never presumably be able to forget, right? To be beaten up in the way you were by a mob in the heart of Imphal.
Yeah.
It must have been traumatic for you, sir.
At the same time, Sardesai,
Yes.
hey, you have promised you have to come to me immediately when you have free time. Thank you, you are the next of God. You are next of God.
Okay, I want to say this, that they've been very kind to me, and they believe that had I not told their story 5 months ago, perhaps the world would not have known their story. And Mr. Waltes told me that when he's able to go back to Manipur, he wants me to come with him. And I certainly will, sir.
Yeah.
I look forward to coming with you. But David, how you run a small service center, car servicing center in Churachandpur. How difficult have the last 6 months been?
All the economic are down. So, like the small thing, like parts and all, we could not get on time. And then even all the people who are staying in Lamka, they all have a financial problem because of this crisis. That's why we could not run properly. But now, after 7 months, day by day come, and then the people also.
So things are slowly getting calmer.
Yes.
I saw yesterday visuals of 87 bodies being buried, a mass burial in Churachandpur. But the scars between Kukis and Metis, will they be able to live together? Are you slowly being able to meet your Meitei friends? I'm sure you have Meitei friends.
Yes, lots, sir.
You have lots of Meitei friends. Are you being able to meet them? Can you go to Imphal?
No, sir, not possible, sir.
Not possible for you to travel from Churachandpur to Imphal?
It's if we go there, I think we will not get back alive.
There's a LOC, as you all call it,
Yes,
between
yes.
the Kuki areas and the Meitei areas even now.
Yes. And
So how did you come to Delhi?
no, through Aizawl.
You had to come through Aizawl.
Yes. It's around 250 kilometer plus, and then we have to travel 3-4 days because I'm coming with my kids.
As you said, things are getting calmer.
Yes.
Is business slowly improving or is it very difficult?
No, right now at Lamka, before.
Lamka is your word for Churachandpur.
Yes. And now, before like 2-3 months back, there are lots of shutdown because of all this problem. But now only on Wednesday it's shutdown day, so the business also growing.
Slowly growing.
Yes, slowly growing. And then all the needs and daily needs we can get it from Aizawl with the help of the Aizawl people.
Mr. Walte, how many of your, you were a leading politician, have you been able to meet or talk to some of your politician friends from Manipur? Have they come to meet you
Most
now?
of them who are coming here, I talk to them.
They are coming to meet you.
Yeah. When they are coming and I told them, we have to stay away from this problem.
You want people to, you believe that these wounds between Meiteis and Kukis, can they be healed? Can you all come together? Is it possible for Meiteis and Kukis to come together?
At least one day it will come together. At least one day it will come together.
You are hopeful that they will come together?
Yeah, I hope.
Do you believe that a separate administration for the Kuki areas is the only way forward? Or do you believe the way forward is for people to talk to each other, to start a dialogue? You need to start a dialogue.
Historic separate administration. Before in India, before this India become this Manipur become Indian, it is already there.
So you believe there should be a separate administration for the Kuki areas?
It must be there.
It must be there. Have you been able to speak to the Chief Minister? You were very close to Chief Minister Biren Singh.
No.
Not been able to speak to him?
No, yeah.
Lots of people are sending you a lot of good wishes because people want to see Manipur, once again smiling. What will you tell the people of this country as someone who has gone through so much of suffering in the last 6 months? What is your message?
For the time being, it is not possible. It can come possible.
Are you hopeful of peace? That peace will...
Hopeful peace. Peace can come later on.
Peace can come later on?
Not now.
Not now. Do you talk to your Meitei friends at least on the phone sometimes?
No, not possible.
Why?
No, we cannot reach them, and then it's still, even for me, it's still pain whenever I saw my father, 6 months back photo. I could not bear that. That's why I'm not able to talk to them. And then even them, their relative or someone may die or someone may be tortured. So it's not possible to talk each other for the time being.
But you're hopeful one day?
One day, yeah. After our solution is completed.
How are you going to celebrate? Let's talk happier things. How are you going to celebrate Christmas, Mr. Walte? What is your plan? You've called all your family here.
Yeah, I am planning to do here in Manipur.
Do you like Christmas cake? What do you like?
Yeah, Christmas cake.
What is your how do you normally, when you're back in Churachandpur, how do you
celebrate in church?
Well, all I'm praying for, all we are all praying for, sir, is that peace returns to Manipur. That will be the best gift this Christmas and New Year, and that you get better and you can meet all your constituents in your district. Thank you very much for talking to me, but I want to meet the whole family because it's Christmas time and we're going to have a bit of a Christmas celebration. This is just one of the many stories, therefore, of Manipur, the story of Mr. Bungazin Walte. He, remember, is an MLA and to that extent has been relatively privileged. But do think of the hundreds of people who even now live in relief camps, Kukis and Meiteis, who are struggling to bring their lives together. This Christmas and New Year, say a small prayer for them. Our thoughts are with the people of Manipur in the hope that the new year will bring better news and a healing touch. Thanks for watching. Namaskar.
Weather forecast now. Delhi, maximum 23 and minimum 8 degrees. Mumbai, maximum 30 and minimum 24 degrees. Kolkata, maximum 26 and minimum 14 degrees. Bangalore, maximum 28 and minimum 19 degrees. Chennai, maximum 27 and minimum 24 degrees. Hyderabad, maximum 28 and minimum 13 degrees.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To